A very good afternoon to you. You're watching the Daily Service Delivery Gauge on SABC 1 as well as the SABC News channel. I'm Criselda Lewis. Thank you very much for joining us.
And welcome to today's edition of the Daily Service Delivery Gauge. And our question today is, with less than a week before the local government elections, what do first-time viewers and voters need to know when they get into the booth? You can send your video clips to 083 272 8341. Igama ngumxolisi wakwamasango. Signing for us today is Mpho Wagateme. The Tuesday edition of the Daily Service Delivery Gauge starts now. Here's where we start the show today. The residents of Nzenzala informal settlement in Lwandle near the Strand in the Western Cape say they are unlikely to vote in the next week's local government elections. They say they are tired of empty promises from politicians. The shack dwellers have been at loggerheads with the city of Cape Town after they invaded a tract of land in 2014 and got evicted later the same year.
This is Nzenzala informal settlement, crammed on a piece of land between a formal housing development in Lwandle Township. Residents of the area, as the name suggests, invaded a piece of land earmarked to upgrade the N2 highway in January 2014. In June that year, they were evicted and placed in a hall for 3 months. They were then released to temporary shelters built by the Human Settlements Department.
We were evicted most 2014, and at the time they moved us back to this, they gave us this certificate that says relocation will be, we will be here for temporarily. And that time we had Anthony's like Ulu.
Then they promised us about a lot of things that we're gonna move in 9 months' time, but we didn't move up until now. We're still here, and now is a difficult time now. We are struggling. We have a lot of kids here, and now is a corona time. We are not safe in this place.
Residents are hesitant to vote next week, citing a lack of political will from authorities to address their problems.
Those people of this area, they are not interested on voting because they don't see changing when they vote. Mostly if you are voting, they always say vote is your voice, vote is your voice, but it's not our voice because they promised that they're gonna take us in 9 months' time here. And Patricia Delila and Lindy Wesisulu, they come. Those two parties, ANC and DA, they confused us because they come and promise empty promises and they go.
The city made yet another promise to relocate residents in the next 24 months.
As the city of Cape Town, we have an agreement with Sandral because they're doing an upgrade in that particular area. And informal settlements that are affected will then have a relocation plan for them. We have bought some land parcels to do a permanent relocation for all those affected areas. It's not only Nzenzala that we are talking about, but all the people that are sitting also on the pipeline that is there.
Nzenzala locals are hoping authorities will keep their promises this time. 7 years later, and the community of Nzenzala still remains where they were left off by government. They are saying the area is growing rapidly and this is putting strain on services. They are making an impassioned plea to government to honor its promise. Thule Joga, SABC News, Nzenzala, near Strand, Cape Town.
Atule, thank you very much indeed for that report. So we continue with our Voter Education Week. This ahead, of course, of the local government elections on Monday here in South Africa. Our programming is basically geared at addressing or rather assisting you in making some of your choices. We're now going to be joined by the former Deputy Chair of the Independent Electoral Commission of South Africa. He's also the current Executive Chair of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Mr. Terry Zalani. Sir, very good afternoon to you. Thanks indeed for your time. So I think let's just start with the mere basics that we often forget. Can I wear political gear to vote? Can I take a selfie in the booth? What are some of the do's and don'ts, the very basic ones?
Well, thank you very much for having me here. Part of the things that are not allowed at the voting station is obviously entering a voting station with a cell phone or taking a picture of your ballot using a cell phone. So cell phones are not really allowed in the ballot paper because they compromise the secrecy of a ballot. But in terms of a voter can wear anything that they want to wear. There is no prohibition on what a voter can wear. You can wear the colors of your political party or T-shirt of your political party. The only people who are prohibited from wearing anything that resembles the colors of a political party are the party agents. Party agents are given an armband. That armband will indicate that they are party agents, and they will also indicate which political parties they're representing.
Yeah. Mr. Zalani, there have been concerns in the run-up to this election. A number of candidate councillors from various political parties have been killed. In fact, the NFP also announcing that a candidate councillor was also being killed. I mean, why has South Africa failed to deal with this kind of unrest, in particular when we see this happening towards a local government election? The intolerance is still there. An SABC crew, for example, was also held hostage for several hours. Why are we seeing scenes like this? So mature, I would say, in our democracy.
Of course, this is completely unacceptable. In a country like South Africa, we would expect that by now we have reached a level of maturity where this kind of tensions do not lead to killings of people. I mean, we understand that during the elections, obviously, tensions will be high because each and every political leader and political party would want to win votes. They would want to convince voters about the correctness of their positions. But that should not actually lead to people losing lives because, an environment like that begins to contaminate the environment within which the elections are supposed to be taking place. And I don't think it's something that should actually be accepted. And I think it is upon the leaders of political parties to begin to rein in on their supporters so that this kind of things do not actually happen.
I mean, issues of election posters is also something that came up in the run-up to this election. Do you think perhaps, with the signing of the Code of Conduct, for example, that has already been done by these political parties, we're still not seeing a certain level of tolerance that we're expecting to see as a democratic South Africa? I mean, the posters themselves, quite an uproar over that. Some arguing they're simply racist. That's it. How do we handle issues such as that, not to further fuel tensions during a time like this?
Political parties are bound by the Code of Conduct that they sign, and all the candidates and the supporters of political parties are supposed to abide by the rules and the provisions of the Code of Conduct. Now, it becomes even more difficult when a political party or leaders are seen to be the ones who are actually violating the very provisions to which they've committed themselves to. And I think the Electoral Commission obviously has got the responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is adherence to the Code of Conduct. In a case, where they believe that the issues can be dealt with through conciliation, they must be able to bring parties together and invoke Section 103A of the Electoral Act, which empowers the Commission to resolve issues through conciliation, particularly the violation arising from the provisions of the Code of Conduct. But some of the issues should actually be referred to the Electoral Court, and the Electoral Court should actually be able to impose penalties on the parties that or party leaders.
Any such incident currently that you think could have been referred to the Electoral Court?
No, I don't want to be seen to be specifically looking at any of these incidents because I've not looked at the details of what the issues are. I would have to get more information on what a political party or leaders have been accused of. And but I think the Commission also has got the powers to deal with those kind of issues. And if the matter should be referred to the Electoral Court, I think they've got the powers through the directorate that they established a few years back to refer those issues to the Electoral Court.
Just very quickly, Mr. Zalani, we've run out of time. Do you think South Africa is ready to hold a free and fair election as it stands?
We are ready to have free and fair elections. We have had elections before, and these elections are no different from the elections that we have had previously. So all that it requires is that the political parties and political leaders should actually do responsible things and make sure that they abide by the rules that are there that govern the delivery of these elections.
Mr. Zalani, thank you very much indeed. We really do appreciate your time. Terry Zalani was, of course, the current executive chair of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa. We'll take a short break here on the program. We'll have much more when we get back. Stay with us.
All right, so welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Service Delivery Gauge, and we continue to be your handy guide as we 5 days to the upcoming local government elections. Now, we have invited you as our viewer to take part in the topic of the day. And our question we are asking, with less than a week before the local government elections, what questions do you still need to be cleared up about the voting process? Our first caller is Brian Mjali from SABC. A very good afternoon to you, Brian. Welcome to the Daily Service Delivery Gauge. What's your comment for us this afternoon?
Thank you for having me, Nto, and your listeners there at home. Basically, what I'm saying is that it's time for South African constitutional democracy to mature, wherein the state is really separated from political parties. We need a scenario wherein a political delegate, elected president, must resign from their political party, and the said political party holds by-elections for a new president, and if needs be a new vice president. Our government must not be held hostage by political parties. Yesterday, I was at a campaign by the state president here in Orange Farm with his entire delegate and the state security agencies. And what I saw there was amazing, that the state president has said nothing about social distancing. Around 3,000 people were there. They were pushing and marauding one against another. And some of them were not even wearing masks. Not one word from the state president about this. And unfortunately, some of us have lost business. My welding business collapsed for a year and a half. Steel prices went up 300%. And unfortunately, it appears that all other political parties in South Africa, from EFF and all these other political parties, IFP, whichever political, they are paying the state president to go on a campaign for their political party, and the state is left on autopilot for a month and a half. What I saw yesterday is inconsistent with what I've been hearing for a year and a half. When my business collapsed, I can't even pay petrol for my car. I'm living on handouts because my welding business collapsed. But for some reason, COVID-19 and its wife, Delta, went on honeymoon when it comes to elections. There is no longer COVID-19 on this. And now I've lost everything, but when it comes to elections, the state president is campaigning for local government elections. It didn't make sense to me. I need clarity on that. Yeah. My head is spinning as I'm talking to you now. Thank you.
You know, Brian, before we let you go there, I know today we're speaking on voter etiquette on the program, and this is a time where we're doing the elections, under a global pandemic, which is still lingering somewhere there. So I just want to know from you, do you think that there's enough being done, to ensure that this election goes as smooth, amidst a global pandemic as it is right now? Is there enough information in the public domain?
Hello?
Hi, Brian, are you still there? Okay, we've lost
All right, we seem to have lost Brian, but we see quite a very important question that he's asking. Has COVID-19 suddenly gone on leave now that there's a local government elections? And in fact, I did ask President Ramaphosa about this when he was in Katlehong visiting the taxi ranks there, a number of things, and he denied that South Africa had basically been taken down to level 1 of the lockdown so that everyone could campaign, saying that it was based on science. Let's go to Gustav Smith now from Cape Town, who's going to be a first-time voter, I understand. Gustav, very good afternoon to you. Have you got a bit of jitters ahead of the 1st of November?
Yes, definitely. As I said in my previous, I was working with community organizations where I see the lack of ruling parties coming into our communities.
Yeah.
So I ward committees on so that I can make sure that every crisis in our community, even drain storage, even the facilities that was vandalized, I make sure that I captured them. I'm currently at the plaza. I cleaned it, and afterwards for the by-election, they send in the EPW. Times they're sending EP to clean the street, which is a very, very, very important for our community, so that progress like that can reign.
First time vote. I would have loved to hear from Gustav. We're going to try and get Gustav back because I'd love to hear from him as a first time voter. What's important for him? What is top of mind for Gustav as he makes his mark for the very first time in an election?
And to actually piggyback on that point you also made earlier, you know, this is why we're here as the Daily Service Delivery Gauge, to disband all the myths, because this whole global pandemic has put us on a very different playing field as a whole.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting to be listening to our callers as they're engaging with us and speaking to us about some of the decisions they're going to be making when they head to the ballot next week to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
All right, Gustav, you're back with us. We're grateful to have you back once again. So let me just get to this. I mean, what's important for you? I understand that you're a first-time voter. What's important for you in this election? Please don't tell us which party you'll be voting for. Just tell us what's important for you.
For this election, it's very important that councillors that is elected in this local government election work hand in hand with communities, especially for when the budget is out. They should consider asking groups like builders in the community what is the need really, not instead coming and just place stuff on our parks that were vandalized or our infrastructures that were vandalized, come and do stuff they don't want to. I think it will on the grassroots level to ask what our need is and where we want our budgets to be spent. So that's what I'm really for voting and wanted to see when this election is coming up.
Gustav, I think that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you very much and all the best for Monday. And I hope you feel a sense of, I guess, excitement when you put that mark for the very first time.
And I hope you heard some of the rules that were,
no selfies, hey?
Yeah, no selfies there.
No selfies. All right, let's take a look at some of the videos, hey?
Of course, we did ask you guys to drop us some of the videos on our WhatsApp line. Can we please roll them?
My naam is Frans Lou van die Noord-Kaap Kimberley, Salpluitjie, Hoogte 3. Daar's baie probleme om mee te praat, maar ongelukkig gaan ek 2 noem. Ons het 'n gewellige probleem waar ons dreine oorloop en ons dreine is gedeeltelik geblok. En ons het jare terug was daar 'n sloot gebou, veronderstel wanneer dit reën, dan moet die stroom die water afloop na 'n kanaal toe of na 'n dam toe. Maar ongelukkig is die sloot ook geblok en die grasse het groen gegroei.
Sinenkinga thina silokhu sashonelwa abazali nje asitholi isizo ikhansela hlele sidlula liyazisele soda singabantwana akekho osebenzayo bonke abantwana siyafunda sisele seba u5 ekhaya egcekeni akekho osebenzayo siyayiphandela siyazama ngayo yonke indlela sicela komakhelwane ukudla kodwa ikhansela likhona bese kuthiwa kodwa sivoteni kusasa befike bezosinxenxa ukuthi asambe sovota ukuze sizokwazi ukuthola usizo kodwa kuzobe manje inyanga ye7 ile bazali badlula kodwa akukho nje usizo silitholayo.
We don't have surface streets or roads. Our roads are still in gravel. They are too slippery during the rainy season or rainy time. Sometimes you find that on those streets, it's just a man-made street. So I don't know what municipality is going to help us. We have tried to engage the municipality in all matters, but everything is just fate.
We appreciate all your interaction. And we say keep them coming.
Yeah.
Back to back on what you have to say. Let's take a look at what's happening on our social media page for today. We start with Nicholas. He says it's simple as saying, look at what service delivery has been given to South Africans over the last 27 years from the majority party. Does it look justifiable? Make the change, in exclamation marks.
All right, let's take a look at the next one. Don Pablo says, don't vote for the corrupt ANC. Okay, I think there's another one that's coming as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Val says first-time voters vote for the PAC, reason being that party has not made any adverts. We don't know who the leader is and we didn't hear their manifesto. Only grannies and grandpas are there.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for getting in touch with us. We really do appreciate all your comments. Keep them coming. 5 days.
Yeah, 5
the
days.
Election. Almost there, South Africa.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Tuesday edition of the Daily Service Delivery Gauge. Take care.
See you tomorrow.